Okay, go ahead.
I can, oh, we have 11.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Hey guys, we see, looks like we have some folks joining us. This is our team manager training for Medical Mystery, this year's scientific challenge. We are super excited to have you with us here tonight, and we really appreciate you guys attending a training. We know that this is in the middle of your week, so we really do appreciate your time, and hopefully you will find this beneficial. As you can see, if you have been around the scientific challenge over the last few years, you've probably seen me around. I've probably also been wearing a funny hat. I told Kate earlier that I'm claiming it's festive, but really I went skiing and this is hiding helmet hair. So we are just gonna jump right in. This PowerPoint is it's a little bit shorter than normal if you've done one of these with me, especially with me before. It's kind of meant to be a little bit more geared towards the new format of our in-person training. So there's a few things that may get glossed over a little bit more than they have in the past. So please, there is a section that you should be able to see that says question and answer. Please type any questions that you have in there, and Kate will relay all those to me, and we will get those answered for you as quickly as possible. So if there's anything here that I start going over or acronyms or anything that you feel uncomfortable with and need me to just slow down and repeat something, please just holler and we will get that taken care of for you.
And just so everybody knows who's presenting, this is Jessica Jones. She is an affiliate challenge master for the Scientific Challenge. And my name is Kate Donnellan, and I'm the Executive Director for DI Colorado, and I will be answering your questions about the challenge or sending them to Jessica to answer. So yeah, we're really happy to have you, and thank you for being team managers.
Yes, it may have been strategic to not tell you my name, but Kate blew it. I'm kidding. We are totally here to help in anything. If you have already registered for the challenge, hopefully you've received an email from me already. And if not, then if you haven't registered, maybe you're still shopping around a little bit, and hopefully you'll land here. But if not, if you've registered and haven't received an email, also please let us know that, because I really tried. I think I sent it out to everyone by now. All right, so we're gonna jump right in. Oh, just kidding. All right, there we go. All right, so as Kate mentioned, I am Jessica Jones. I am one of 3 affiliate challenge masters this year. We also have Dale Husk, who is one of my co-RCMs as well in the Cherry Creek region, and we have Bree Klein, who is an RCM also for South Metro. Excuse me. This list here is your list of everyone who is going to be a regional challenge master and the region that they are in. So these are the people that you should expect to hear from, and I left Bree in there twice. These are the people that you should be hearing from about when it gets closer to your tournament. Don't panic if you haven't heard from them yet. We're still a little bit early, but come after mid-January, hopefully we will have those folks reaching out to you. If you have any questions, you can always email the 3 of us at the top in purple, and we can loop in any RCM. But if you maybe have something that's site-specific or a question that pertains directly to your tournament, please, by all means, feel free to reach out to the RCM, which is Regional Challenge Master, for your region. Cool. All right, so we're just gonna jump right in this year. Most of the time I give this whole song and dance about creativity in the process, and it's okay if kids cry, and it is. We're not trying to take that away, but hopefully we're gonna dig a little bit into this challenge and get you kind of in and out a little bit quicker than usual. So, Central Challenge, as I say, Eat, Sleep, Central Challenge. You and your team need to be reading the challenge, try to understand it, question it. You can send questions to myself, to any of our ACMs. We'll go over the clarification process a little bit later, and then read it again and again and again. There are always things that catch that I happen to see. I feel like even as I've created PowerPoints on these things, it just, there's always something. For example, we'll go over it later, but I missed that there are now required 6 copies of tournament data forms. I did not know that. And that's because I had glossed over something that I typically felt was going to stay the same. So just so you know, you can never read it too many times because there's always something to catch. As I kind of mentioned, you're not going to capture everything the first time, so come back to it, especially as your team starts, you know, brainstorming ideas. It's really good. The challenge is, I don't want to say central because that seems silly, but central to everything that you're doing. So please, at any interval that you possibly can, come back and make sure that the directions, you know, that the team members understand the directions that they're taking, how they relate to the challenge, what pieces, where the points are. And so it's really always just a good way to check yourself and come back to it. You seriously, I mean, I have a challenge and all over the place. There's one at my desk at work. There's basically always one within reach. Just because it's, again, I can never see it too many times. And you cannot read it too many times. So to gain in, if you have done one of our scientific challenges in the past, this is pretty standard. Our $150 budget is only what appears in the performance. We'll kind of go over expense reports a little bit later. You're going to have 8 minutes for the performance, or your team is going to have 8 minutes for the performance, and that will include the team setup. So sometimes there's always a team or two that kind of gets them. Our standard area or presentation area, we typically try to give teams way more than that, but that is all that we're technically required to be available. So if you're ever, again, have a question about what you're trying, maybe you're going to see at the tournament or whatever, feel free to email us. But be prepared that your team will have to perform in an 8x10 foot area. And just know, Kate and I were just talking about this right before this started, that if your team does make it to global, their props will have to fit through a standard size door. This is going to be universal for all challenges. So not necessarily a big deal for the scientific people. We're kind of used to that life, but it is for other challenges. So just so you know, standard size door. Granted, that's a few months away, but just want to throw it out there now. And team identification sign, again, just want to be sure you have one. So getting into some of the overview of what we're starting to look at here in medical mystery. The teams are going to research the human body and medical conditions that affect the human body. There is going to be a story about a medical mystery that affects a human character. The team is going to design and build a representation that shows the medical mystery and at least one symptom. And there's also going to be an action or scene that will need to be shown from 2 or more perspectives at the same time. Woohoo! So going right through. Yay! Human. So in DI, sometimes our version of vocab, we have some special definitions for certain phrases and words. So this is kind of jumping into some of the vocab for DI, but also for this challenge. So human, we are pretty basic here, and just defining that as Homo sapien. So when we say here that it needs to affect a human character, that's what we're saying. And that human must be a Homo sapien. In terms for the medical mystery, this we're going to probably revisit, but the medical mystery is any disease, illness, injury, bodily change, or other physical and or mental health condition for which one or more characters in the story have no explanation. Okay. Just want to be sure we kind of pause, look at that, see what's not or not there. Symptom is something physical or mental that indicates the presence of the medical mystery that we just noted before. The diagnosis is going to be the team's explanation of the medical mystery. They're all coming together. And then our symptomatic is a physical representation of parts of the anatomy of the human character experiencing the medical mystery and the effect of at least one symptom on the human character's anatomy. So a lot happening there. These are basically, they kind of end up filling out, we'll go into more detail and kind of where the points are and how this all ties together. But just want to be sure so far that we are feeling okay on these definitions.
Does the medical mystery need to be a real disease?
So our golden rule in DI is that if it doesn't say you can't, you can. And if you read this, what the definition of a medical mystery is, there is no place that defines. So since it doesn't say it has to be, going with our rule of if it doesn't say you can't, you can, it does not. Feeling good? So yeah, I told you we probably revisit. There's no more questions? Mm-hmm. Okay. Alrighty. So we're gonna move forward. I'm sure there's more than one person that had that question. But hopefully that helps clear things up for you. Oh, we have more vocabulary. I jumped ahead of myself. Double vision is one action or scene that is shown from two or more perspectives at the same time. Blocking, for the sake of this challenge, is the placement and or movement of the team members. Staging is the placement and or movement of non-team members, of props, objects, or set pieces, etc. So blocking, team members, staging, props, set pieces, non-people. Technical methods. So those are pretty much our new vocab words. There is no test, no worries. But for, oh, hey, Bree. Bree, I don't know if, can they see Bree? Kate, can they see Bree? Yes, you're muted.
Sorry, I'm muted. My son just walked in the door loudly. Yes, I can see Bree.
Can they see Bree?
Yes, everyone can see Bree.
Okay. Hey Bree, just so you know, everyone can see you. So this is Bree. She is one of our, as noted, she is our RC, one of our RCMs for South Metro, and is also one of our affiliate challenge masters this year. So you've probably, if you've been around the challenge, you've probably been through a prep with Bree, and we are really excited to have her as a part of our team. You haven't missed too much, Bree. We're going over vocab.
Okay, thanks. Sorry I'm late.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. All right. So this, in terms of our vocab here, these are some definitions that have been around, but we want to be sure that we go over them anyway each time. Technical methods, the use of principles in all those fields, which just feel like a lot of words to say right now. So basically the use of principles. The technical design is the result of a plan for carrying out or accomplishing a task. And innovation is the how new, unique, original, or creative the methods are for initiating, operating, and or producing the symptomatic. So design there is a little bit more of the emphasis on result, and our technical innovation is a little bit more on the how. Cool. Alrighty, jumping into the story. No more vocab. Got a little bit ahead of myself there, but no more vocab now. So our story, your team is going to create and present a story about a medical mystery that affects a human character. The human character may be portrayed using any theatrical style, method, or manner. Just so you know, the medical mystery is allowed to affect more than one character, but only one character will earn points. And we'll kind of look at the points here and how that's broken down. But just so you know, and this is pretty common in DI, but that we're only going to be scoring one. It could, if you have 7 team members, the medical mystery could affect all 7 of them, but we will only be scoring one human character. So you will need to specifically note that in your 6 copies of your tournament data form. The human character, so it may be portrayed using those methods, but it must experience at least one symptom caused by the medical mystery. Cool, cool. In our story, or in your team's story, they will need to include a diagnosis, and this diagnosis needs to be supported by at least one symptom. In the story, the team will need to integrate research about the human body and or medical conditions. The story can be set in any location, real or imaginary, and it can also be set in any time period, past, present, future. And just because we're dealing with the medical world, please make sure that your team's solution is appropriate for all audiences, G-rated preferably. We just know that there are certain paths that could be taken when it comes to this challenge. So really, if you don't think they should be performing it in front of grandma, we should probably go a different direction. Everyone okay? All right, we still
Does
good?
anyone, if you have any questions, put them in the question box, and Bree and Jessica will answer them.
Lucky you. Alrighty, I'm gonna move forward to the points of the story. So the team will receive points for the dramatic portrayal of the human character affected by the medical mystery. They will receive points for the integration of research about the human body and or medical conditions into the story. It's a 0 or 10 if the diagnosis, as we said, must be supported by at least one symptom. If there's not one, if they don't come to a conclusion with that diagnosis because of at least one symptom, it will be a 0. But if at least there's one symptom, it will be a 10. It's pretty simple. Can be an easy 10 points. Creativity of the story is pretty standard in terms of story points in DI, and clear and effective storytelling. We say this every year, but this basically means that it's easy to understand, but a story in the DI world needs to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. If for some reason the team's 8 minutes end before their story ends, their story may not have an end. So we do that clear and effective storytelling. You see it every year, we say it every year, but beginning, middle, and end. All right, so that's it for the story. I have to move all these faces. Still no questions? Still no questions. Y'all are easy. I probably spoke too soon. All right, the symptomatic. I keep saying you. If I say you, I really mean your team. But your team will be designing and creating a symptomatic. Technical methods, which we defined a little bit earlier, vaguely, will need to be used to initiate, operate, and or produce the symptomatic. The symptomatic will be designed and built, let me rephrase that. Design and build all the parts of the symptomatic using your team's own ideas and skills. Sorry, again, I say your, not your team's own ideas and skills. They can use commercially produced items, But just so you know, only any changes or additions or modifications will actually be considered when the scoring of the symptomatic takes place in terms of the design and the build. So, question?
I'm going to type an answer.
Okay. Kate's got this. Y'all don't need me. Okay. Still on the symptomatic. The team will earn points for technical design and technical innovation based on the technical methods used or attempted during the presentation to initiate, operate, and or produce. We do say used or attempted, as we kind of noted. Technical design is a little bit more focused on the result. Technical innovation is on a little bit more on the how. So there, even if the symptomatic does fail, that does not mean that the team just gets 0 points. There still is plenty of opportunity within, again, the way that it's built and created for there to be points given. So it's not just oh no, something went wrong, we're totally doomed. That's why there's more than one technical category, because we understand that sometimes things happen to the coolest of to the best of creation. Sometimes the day of something goes wrong, so all hope is not lost. If the task, oh man, sometimes I get ahead of myself and I don't even know what's coming next. I did this PowerPoint, but here we go. If the task is not accomplished, your team may still earn points. Wow, looky there. All right, so I guess we covered that then. Here we go, continuing on. Technical methods, using less direct team member involvement may earn more technical points or more points for technical design and innovation than methods that have more direct team member involvement, which is just, basically saying that if you're putting together 2 paper clips and you yourself are taking your 2 hands and putting them together, that's a lot of team member involvement, where it'd be different if you had some contraption that put together 2 paper clips. But not saying that that's necessarily true. It's just a may. It's not a must or a should. The features of the symptomatic should be observable from 25 feet away. We tend to have this every year, whatever our little gadget thing is. We don't have some line in the back of the room that's like, oh, this is 25 feet, cool. Really, all it is what we tell people is that people in the audience, the appraisers, parents, grandparents, whoever it is, should not be sitting there thinking, did it happen? Was that it? I couldn't tell. Really, you want it to be able to be something that is, again, observable from 25 feet, which is a decent way. So you just want it to be sure that it's going to be seen and noticed and not be like, I'm not sure if that was it or not. So that's kind of the way that we approach that. There's no technical line that we tape off 25 feet. But if for some reason, our appraisers, it's itty bitty tiny, and even our appraisers who are sitting in the front row can't see it until they talk to the team afterwards, then that's probably not observable from 25 feet for other people too. So.
Hey, does anybody have any questions online? We've gone over a lot of content. If anyone has any questions, just put them in the question box. Bree, do you have anything to add? You're all quiet.
Well, no, Jessica's got this under control here.
I talk a lot, y'all, so.
No, you do a great job on these things. I don't want to mess with your groove.
Christmas groove here. All right. Alrighty, well, since you guys continue to be easy, the points for the symptomatic are integration of the symptomatic into the story, technical design, and technical innovation. Pretty straightforward. Nothing too crazy there. Alrighty. Double vision. Not necessarily it's a little trickier part of this challenge, maybe. So for the double vision, the team is going to present part of the story in double vision, right? That's helpful, right?
Clear as mud.
Clear as mud. The team will design blocking and staging, which we earlier defined as the movement and placement of people for blocking and non-people for staging, to enhance the effect of double vision. The action or scene presented in double vision may last for as long as your team chooses. But this, kind of like the symptomatic observable distance, the appraisers especially, but appraisers, audience, they need to know what's happening. So it can't just be this like, whoo, oh yeah, that was it, you missed it. You should have opened your eyes, for your vision wasn't good for our double vision. But no, it really needs to be there. And again, there's no time limit. We're not going to be like 10, 9, 8. There's nothing like that. But again, it's one of those things where the appraisers should not be wondering, was that it? Was that, did that happen? Can we see it again? Can we see the double vision double? So again, it's kind of this tricky thing. And our double vision points are integration of the double vision into the story and how effective the blocking and staging is. I'm afraid of a question.
Can you give some examples of double vision?
Nope. No, I mean, I hate to say nope. I have to say nope for 2 reasons. Number one, I can't, just because an example is considered interference. So unfortunately I can't. But the other thing is that I know this is a tricky section, and I literally have no more information on this than you do. This is one of those things where it's a very kind of vague description of what needs to happen. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of clarity surrounding it. And I get that. That's why I said I was afraid of a question, because I know that this is kind of this nebulous blob of a scored element. So the thing is that, as we kind of mentioned earlier, if it doesn't say you can't, you can. There are not a lot of limitations surrounding this double vision. It's very much open to team interpretation. And I highly recommend, if you are curious about your team's interpretation or what they're planning on doing, if you have any questions, to use the team clarification process, which again, we'll kind of go over here in a little bit. But Kate, I saw there was a second question.
Yeah. So can you go into more detail about double vision? How do small teams perform the same thing twice at the same time?
Okay, I wish I could go into more detail. Unfortunately, this is literally the detail that we have. There's not a lot. The thing is that again, I feel very cliche to be like imagination, creativity, but the thing is that no matter what the size of the team is, the fact is that if you look in the points, it's blocking and staging. If there are 2 team members, that's.
But there's lots of creative ways that you can show things twice or from 2 different point of views. There's lots of creative ways.
Exactly.
So I would work with your team to sort of brainstorm sort of ways that they can do that. I would take the time to say, to show, there's lots of ways that TV shows do that, through either like flashbacks or rewinding scenes, or, there's lots of ways that teams can figure out how to do that.
It is. And so it's one of those things where we don't have a lot of detail, but in some ways that works to your advantage because your possibilities are nearly endless when it comes to this.
It says, can you elaborate? Well, a lot of questions here that are coming up on the chat. Can you go into, can you elaborate on blocking? And then it also says, someone else says, but yes, it has to happen at the same time. Doesn't the challenge say that the double vision has to happen at the same time?
Okay, I'm gonna grab my challenge real quick. What do we mean about, okay, blocking. Woo, sorry, y'all. Get a view of the apartment here. So I'm just gonna open it up for this.
Everybody should have gotten a challenge in their email about at 6:30.
All right, so really the only thing that we can say about blocking, because again, it's all we really have, is that it's the placement and or movement of team members. I wish there was more for me to go into, but that is the definition, and that's all that the challenge states on it.
It also says that the double vision does have to happen at the same time. That was the other part of that question.
Okay. All right. So yeah.
So if it has to happen at the same time, your team is going to have to figure out how to do that at the same time, how to present 2 points of view from at the same time.
Sorry, yes. And that's not on the screen because it was way back in our vocab.
Can the symptomatic be the same as the double vision, such as an X-ray machine showing a symptom, but also the inside-outside of their body at one time? Also, does the inside-outside of the body count as double vision? I think those are all clarification questions.
I think so too. I think so too.
Yes.
So you get 10 clarification questions that you can ask the International Challenge Master. And so I think Jessica and Bree, are you going to go into those? Are you going to go into those? How to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's closer to the end, I think.
Right. So we're going to go through clarifications, but those are definitely through the clarification process. You want to ask those questions.
It is. And I wish that I could be more assistance in this. But the fact is those 5 bullet points under double vision that you're reading are is the only information that we as your ACM and, well, anyone, has. And it's going to be an interesting thing for us. I don't necessarily know what to expect or what exactly we're all going to see, but I trust that the teams are going to provide us a lot of very interesting solutions. Because again, without a lot of guidelines, there's a lot that can happen, which is a good thing in this program. But I understand that in terms of black and white, it's a little frustrating to kind of nail down exactly what needs to happen. So I'm sorry. I was afraid of this section. That's why I said the first time, afraid of questions, because I know it's a little tricky. And it's tricky for us too. You're not alone.
But that being said, that means that a lot of things coming to tournament are going to be accepted because it is open to interpretation.
Exactly. So that's why I'm saying it kind of works to your advantage in the long run. Even though I know that right now and trying to even explain it to teams, it's a little frustrating. It can be frustrating. So is there anything else I can try to answer?
You're good.
What's happening? Okay. Sorry, guys. Hate to be the cop out and be like, team clarification, but it is what it is. All right, the points, I know we said this, but integration and the effective use of blocking and staging. Team choice elements. Yay. Everyone's favorite thing. So team choice elements are, being very candid with you, are probably our greatest area of struggle, despite the fact that we see them, that they are the same year after year after year. in the challenge, and really in every challenge, but improv, I believe. Yet it still can be tough on these. So the idea of a team choice element is really to show off the team's interests, their skills, any special talents. There's so many different things that can be done for team choice elements. But the problem, well, I'll stop real quick. You have to have two team choice elements, and you cannot double dip. We'll get into the double dipping. The team choice elements are scored on three things. It's a little bit more, but three categories. Creativity, originality, quality workmanship and effort, and then integration. So many times I feel like the struggle with the team, well, there's several. One of our struggles with the team choice elements is that it's hard. We don't necessarily see a lot of solutions come through that hit on all three categories. Many times they'll hit really high on one, maybe two, but then, they forgot to integrate it into the presentation, and it was just left there on the side of the stage the whole time. It's really important to take all three of those because team choice elements are important. The next slide. They account for 15% of the total score, and they really can make or break a team, and if they move forward. They absolutely should not be an afterthought. I think many times what happens is that we focus on the symptomatic and the story and our diagnosis and the double vision. And then teams take a step back and look and say, okay, what here can we make a team choice element? Well, that's where we then get into the struggle of double dipping, because so often we see a team will come in with their symptomatic that they've worked really hard on listed as both their symptomatic as well as their team choice element. Well, the idea is that we can only score something once. So if it's being scored, we cannot score it as both the symptomatic and as the team choice element. So in order to prevent that double dipping, really consider the team choice elements and as an element in your presentation, just like the double vision, just like the symptomatic. They should be a part of things from the get-go. That will really help your team and will help maximize the way that we can give points, because if we're scrambling and prep on the day of to work the words or whatever it is to be sure that there's no double dipping, we're probably not maximizing your points. Specific is typically better than generic. If you put down, or your team puts down costumes, just know that we then have to take into consideration the costume of every single team member. If one person's wearing some amazing costume, but the other 6 team members are in their tournament t-shirt and jeans, those will all have to be taken into account as well. So the more specific it can be is typically better. And as I noted on the last slide, really focus on where the points are. Because again, it's typically, aside from double dipping, the ones that, when we see them, it's harder to hit in all three of the categories. So really take a look at that. We cannot emphasize team choice elements enough. I know that, again, they kind of become last minute many times to these other elements, but I could not recommend more to make them a part of the brainstorming and planning and and preparation stuff from the very beginning. So we're kind of getting into points now and a few kind of final things. We're getting a little bit away from the challenge. Is there anything before?
Can you clarify what you mean by all three scoring elements of a team choice element? A team choice element. What are the three?
The creativity, originality is one. Quality, workmanship, effort, and then integration into the presentation are the three different categories.
Sorry, back on the double vision. Do you think using photo filters would be considered double vision? I think that is a team clarification.
Yep. Team clarifications are your friend. Again, just give me a hot second. We'll get there. But yes, so definitely ask that as a team clarification. It's a great opportunity for you to ask specific questions and kind of pick the brain of the ICMs a little bit. And I feel like I'm just gonna, I'll get there. I'll get there. Promise. Maybe I should do team clarifications at the beginning. Did you have something, Kate?
No. I just, we don't want to give answers to team-specific questions, number one, because they're your team's ideas and we don't want to share them with other teams, but also because we're not allowed to. So that's why the team clarification process is so important. And they generally get back to you really quickly. So we'll get to how to do that in a minute.
Yeah, we're really not just trying to delegate and push it over the fence. It is. Hands are tied a bit on these things, as Kate said, we're not allowed. So kind of looking at our overall view, your central challenge, which is made up of your symptomatic, your story, and your double vision, is 60%. Those team choice elements, our friends, that 15%, and then the other 25 is instant challenge. We're not going too much into instant challenge here right now, but just as a helpful hint, that's one more thing you do not want to overlook. Every single year, I go into an awards ceremony being surprised by the teams that advance. Not all of them, but there's always some surprise, because what I saw in the Central Challenge did not necessarily line up with what happened in Instant Challenge, and it really can be a difference maker. So again, I know that there's lots of Instant Challenge stuff out there, and this is not necessarily the place to get into the nitty-gritty details, but just as an ACM who wants your teams to succeed, absolutely pay attention to Instant Challenge. Do them at as many practices as you can, whatever it is, because they are critical, and just not something to gloss over and be like, oh crap, let's do one of those, on the Thursday before the tournament. Really very, very important part of this program, and one of the things that makes this program so special. So don't overlook it. Team choice elements, don't overlook it. Central challenge, no, I kid. They're all important, basically, is what we come down to. Breaking down that 60%, the story is 46, double vision is 21, and the symptomatic is 33. This is kind of what we're looking, I listed these out earlier when we went through the point sections, but as you can see kind of what things are worth, and kind of how we get to those percentages. You can see parts of the story are up to 30. Again, there's our 0 or 10. Creativity and clear and effective are up to 20. Symptomatic, integrations 20. Technical design and innovation are each 30. And then both of our pieces of double vision are 25. Yeah. Any questions?
So I would say that it would be good for the kids to all have a hard copy of at least this page, if not the entire challenge, so that each one has their own copy. Excuse me, so they can write on it and highlight. And I would say come back to the points page every month or so and say, are we focusing on the right things for points? Or have we been arguing about something that we really aren't going to get very many points anyway?
And yes, exactly. Bree is so spot on. And another thing I know that we kind of discussed as an ACM team was even, you know, going through the different parts of your challenge in terms of kind of double dipping and seeing where they line up in terms of the points. And if they are, if you have a symptomatic that is you know, that has points for both symptomatic and the team choice element, you know, we got to be careful. So just kind of looking and making those connections as to what's being, as Bree said, you know, making sure that what they're doing is matching up to a point or up to points, but also being sure that things are not necessarily going to be double dipped and scored twice. Fair?
Yep.
Okay. Paperwork, yay. If you thought the beginning was fun, now we're really getting into the exciting stuff. I cannot, it's one of these little things that tends to be the last piece always done, but paperwork can really make or break a tournament day for us. So we beg of you to have things lined up as much as possible. As I said, I missed this earlier. We do need to have 6 copies of the tournament data form. I'm taking that to be an awesome sign that means that we all have lots of appraisers. And so we're needing more copies this year. In the past, this has been 5. So this is 6 now. And again, I missed that. You will need 2 copies of your declaration. You will need 1 copy of your expense report. Expense reports, please guys make sure that if it's in any way, shape, or form part of the solution, to please note it on the sheet, even if it is exempt. It does not necessarily have to be super specific and some 200, you know, line item type thing. You see what the paper that we're given. If you need a little bit more, that's fine. But it doesn't have to be extremely detailed. But please don't just blanket certain things or assume, well, that was exempt, because it really does. The idea of the expense report in this $150 budget is really to have a level playing field. And I know that sometimes we get lazy on these expense reports, and it just needs to be a little bit clearer as to what everything in the presentation should be there. Bad wording there, but hopefully the good wording on the screen will help. Yes.
The other thing is that all the tournament data forms, the Declaration of Independence, and the expense report are on the Destination Imagination Inc. resource page where you selected your challenge, and those are all available in fillable PDFs, so they can be neat. And you are allowed to fill them out if your team dictates what's in them. Did you say that?
I did not. That got cut in my, you know, since you guys took my time down on my.
Oh, no. You're doing great.
Got cut out of this slide, but yes, yes, you know, especially with those elementary teams, we know that, and honestly, for most of the elementary kids, we really don't want their handwritten stuff. So please help us out, but it needs to be in their words, as Kate says, if they dictate it to you.
Does tape need to be in the expense report? Everything needs to be in the expense report.
Because duct tape ain't cheap.
but some, like, if you buy a $10 roll of duct tape and you use half of it, you only expense half of it. If it's Scotch tape and you use 10 cents of it, just categorize it, you know, you can categorize things in larger chunks so that you're not like having to say, oh, I used two toothpicks or whatever. I mean, you know,
right.
We're just kind of looking at your solution to make sure you didn't purchase it.
Right. Many times we see, you know, solutions that have tons and tons of cardboard, you know, for like, you know, big pieces or big boxes or whatever it is, and nowhere on an expense report is it even listed. And so we just want to be sure that, again, it does not have to be. I'll admit I had a team that was, I know this is very anecdotal, that was super picky about this. We used a Mr. Potato Head one year and tried to calculate exactly what the lips would cost. but it does not need to be that detailed. But please make sure that, again, because those things like duct tape or whatever, they do add up. And just so give us a generic kind of blanket statement. We don't need receipts, anything, but we
unless there's something questionable. So if you are purchasing, I don't know, something that's questionable, like a bigger thing, I would definitely have a receipt.
Right. If you think we're going to go, really, you got that for how much?
The other thing is, if a team member already has supplies, does that need to be expensed? They can be expensed either at garage sale or trash value, depending what they are. So for instance, if it's a Lego robotics kit, if you say it's trash, we're going to ask you to give it to us. So, but if it, if you can put it at a garage sale value, what you would buy it at a garage sale, that's reasonable. Yeah. So everything that's on, so if someone's wearing a t-shirt, if someone is wearing a t-shirt that's not their tournament t-shirt, that would be expensed. If it contributes to their costume, it would be expensed at garage sale value. And dumpster diving, we cannot condone dumpster diving. But if you got out of a dumpster, then it's trash and it's free.
Well, unless it's in the back of a lumber mill. And I mean, we've had people come in before with an entire set made of wood, and they said it was all free trash. So that's kind of a, you at that point you would really assign some kind of a garage sale value to all that lumber, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, the key to your expense report, number one, we're trying to keep it the playing field level, so exactly. that teams from all over have a great way to compete. The second thing is that your solution should be cost so that some other team could do it for the same price. So for example, my team wrote to 3M and we got a huge box full of duct tape. We still had to expense that duct tape even though it was free to us. It was a cost that another team would have to incur. So what would the value of that be? You guys should be pretty good at not getting too close to your line, so it should be okay. I think I just jumped out for a minute. Did I come back?
You did come back.
Yeah, you came back.
Yeah.
I know it was me.
I know, I was wondering too. I'm like, is that me?
Make sure your face is frozen and funny thing.
The other thing is you can fill out middle level and secondary level forms if you choose to answer your question. But the older the kids are, the more likely they are to do it themselves. They're tournament data forms. Did I stop again?
No, I'm just making sure.
Oh, okay. No, I'm done. I'm sorry. I'm done talking.
Okay. No. I appreciate having you here. I just shouldn't have taken out my full length slide on expense items. I just thought I was trying to streamline things here. You also will need a copy of any team clarifications, which we'll kind of note here in a second, as I've said 100 times already. We also, please, if possible, if at all possible, please have extra copies of paperwork. It always seems that the one person who has the paperwork is the one person on the team who is late or stuck in traffic. So if you can have a backup, or, even if it's not even if it's not 6 extra copies, even if it's just one, something that can get us moving, and a backup set would be great, especially knowing how weather can be in Colorado during March or February. I guess we start in February. Safety, gotta run through this every time just because it's our top priority. Please understand and read the rules of the road. If you have any questions or are concerned, again, you can submit a clarification. If it's a rules of the road question, you can also kind of come to us if you're concerned or curious about certain things. There are things that are allowed, but they do require special handling. So really be familiar if your team chooses to go down one of those paths. Please be sure that you guys are able to, or your team is able to answer and be prepared for any questions that we will need to ask for dry ice or chemicals. Just be prepared for those. Also, please, 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 no props that look like weapons. Definitely nothing that is an actual weapon. But even the props that look like weapons, many of our schools that we are in have, strict no tolerance policies, and we really do not want to have to turn away a team in prep area, or not, we wouldn't turn the team away, but turn part of the team's solution away because of any safety concerns. So please just try to stray away from that. I know that there are caveats in the rules of the road, but really it's just best, if at all possible, to just avoid it if that can be done. All team members must wear shoes or have some sort of footwear that has an impenetrable sole. We will ask that in prep every time, so please be sure that no one is planning on wearing socks. Each tournament, being your regional and state, may have specific regulations or restrictions. So again, if you are concerned about anything, please reach out to us, and we will get you in contact with your RCM and or your RD and or Kate. Did I see something pop? You good?
No, I just waved.
No, I saw, I thought I got a little notification.
No.
Cool. Rules of the road, what we just talked about. Roadmap is also out there for some help. Clarifications, yay. This is your way, your team's way, to get a question answered about the challenge. If you're feeling unclear on anything, your double vision is a little hazy, or something you don't feel is clearly explained, and I do have a clarifications page, so we'll go into more detail. I know that you think I'm lying that I'm going to get to that, but I am. And also, as I said at the beginning, please don't ever hesitate to reach out to us. There may be, and I know that you've seen it here already, there may be questions that we tell you that we cannot answer, that we have to have you submit a clarification for. But if there's something that we can do, if we can guide you in the right direction, if you just need positive reinforcement because all of your kids are crying, whatever it is, please, we are really here to support you. You are doing amazing work and really are just killing it for these teams, and we could not do it without you. So we really want to be sure that you know that you're supported. Clarifications. Look, published. These aren't even your team clarifications yet. I'm still lying. All right, so to be honest with you, I haven't checked in a couple of days. Bria, there's nothing that I missed, is there?
I haven't seen anything.
Okay. Typically, these published clarifications happen if there's if every team asks the same question, or if there's a typo or poor wording, something like that. The ICMs will release a large clarification. And please check. I say check it regularly for updates. I haven't done it in a couple of days, but I feel like I'm on there all the time. But I have not seen anything. But on the front page of the IDODI website, just idodi.org, you go to resources, and then you click on little clarifications, and then medical mystery, and it'll show you if there's anything published out there. For the team clarifications, we're finally here. This is what you can submit with any specific questions related to your team's solution. These are not shared with other teams, and you will need to do it via your login on the main IDODI resources page, I believe. Yay, I have a picture even. Typically, it's a pretty quick turnaround, 24, 48 hours. Our ICMs have been pretty on top of it this year, responding. If for some reason, we did have a bit of a struggle last year with getting some responses. So if you are, you know, it is around the holidays right now. If for some reason there's a little bit of a delay, maybe give them a little bit of leniency. But if you are seeing a significant delay and not getting a response back, please let us know, and we will try to light a fire on that for you. You can ask up to 10 clarifications. 10. That's a lot. And very few teams actually do this, but this is one of your greatest resources, because I know that as you go through these things, you have questions. We've already shown you things that we can't answer. So ask, again, you get 10, but in each clarification, you can only ask one question. So be careful of that. So, because I know many times it's like, well, what about this, and then this, and then this, and then it ends up being 3 questions. So you only can ask 1 question per clarification, but you do get 10. You also have to have these submitted by February 15th. Also, as what we noted in our paperwork, you need to bring your clarifications to each tournament. So if you had, if you did 4 clarifications and the International Challenge Masters gave you the green light to go forth on all 4 things, please bring those so that it makes our life easier, because we don't want any of our teams, our RCM crews, our ACM crew to be like, well, we don't think that's allowed, but the ICM has said, yes, you can do it. So this just makes it easiest for all of us. So if you have a team clarification that you were approved for, because if they said no, hopefully you're not doing it. So there would be no reason to bring that clarification of something that they said no. But if it's something that they are said okay, please bring it so that there is no question and that we are aligned with the ICMs for this. In the page, I believe this is the newest picture. They change the font on this every year just to keep it cute. Under teams, and then you go under clarifications, and then of course, I think, and then over here you can do ask clarification. And I don't actually have a team, so my screen might be slightly different, but this is at least the way to direct you to where you would ask that. Is anything different, Kate?
Nope, looks good.
Okay. All right, final call. No double dipping, please, especially in the area of the team choice elements. That is our biggest culprit. As I said earlier, team clarifications are your friend. If it doesn't say you can't, you can. I know we brought that up earlier with regard to the medical mystery, but if it doesn't say you can't, you can. And just remember, it's all about the kids. We know that each team is kind of in a different point in their journey. They may be seasoned vets, or it may be your first year. Whatever it is, we hope that they are just loving every second of this program. All of us here would not be a part of it if we did not love it. And it's all about them and seeing the solutions that they come up with every year. My mind is blown, and it's so great. We just love it so much. So, but just remember, it's all about them. Really, thank you. I think we said this earlier, but we could not do it without you. You really are making a difference in the lives of these team members. And as you said earlier, you're not alone. Please let us help you, support you. Again, my support may be to tell you to do team clarification. Please don't think that that's rude in some ways. That's all we're allowed to do. But whatever we can do, we really want to be sure that you are not feeling completely alone, because we know that this can be a tough job sometimes. So any final questions, comments, concerns? You can do this. Woo! Go team, go.